So you're ready for the Mount Everest Base Camp track, but are you really as prepared as you think? In this video, I'm going to share 26 simple but important tips that most trackers forget. These small but essential tips is why many people struggle or fail. Missing even one of these could turn your exciting track into a tough challenge and can lead to a cost error. If you really want to reach base camp, you need to know these tips. Let's get started. While doing my research, watching a lot of YouTube videos about this track, I noticed that people kept asking the same important questions in comments which were unanswered. Today, I'm here to answer those key questions for you guys. Over the last few months, I did a ton of research before creating this video. I talked to experienced guides, got advice from trackers who've completed the Mount Everest Base Camp track, and read through countless expedition stories. I even studied survival tips from top mountain climbers. After all the research, I discovered 26 crucial tips that can make or break your track. Most of YouTube videos show the journey, but the tips are scattered all over the place, making it hard to find what you need in the video. In this video, I've organized all those tips in one place to make it easy for you guys. Picture this: being stranded for days, flight cancellation, relentless bad weather, a helicopter crash, and shelling out an extra 800 USD for a helicopter ride. All of this unfolding right before my eyes. My trip was packed with heart-stopping moments. There was a point when I almost had to head back to Melbourne without achieving my dream high. I experienced the up and downs, both emotionally and physically, which is why I decided to make this video for anyone planning to do this track. So here's the crux for you: 26 tips you cannot afford to miss. Tip number 1: buffer days in your travel plan. Imagine bad weather and there's no flight going in and out of Lukla. You have a flight to catch to go back home and you miss that flight because of the bad weather. How much will that new flight will cost you? Have you calculated that? Now listen to this. Let me tell you what happened with me. So our Lukla flight got cancelled and over 300 people were stuck at the Ramechaap airport with no flights for the past 2 days. The situation dragged on for 5 days and many more people, including me, saw their chances of doing the track drop to less than 10%. I had to make a tough choice: pay for an expensive helicopter ride or go back home and rebook everything, which would cost even more. Now imagine you're in the same situation, racing against the clock, facing unexpected delays. How would you handle it? This tip could be a game changer, saving you from stressful situation and extra cost. No one talks about this in their videos. So this is my recommendation. Here's how I planned it for myself. I arrived in Nepal 2 days before my track to avoid jet lag and to adjust to the local time and for any last minute shopping. For my return flights to Melbourne, I gave myself a buffer of 3 days. If I hadn't, I would have definitely missed my flight back home. So if you can afford 4 to 5 buffer days, please include them in your planning, and trust me, you'll thank me for that. So here's what happened to my friend Raj. He had trained hard for this track, boosting his endurance, stamina, and doing a lot of strength training. But even with all the prep, the high altitude hit him hard. What felt like a short hike quickly became an exhausting high. I learned from his experience that going slow isn't a weakness, it's smart. Let your body adapt to the thinning air. Enjoy the journey and remember, slow and steady wins the race. Trust me, those who sprint ahead often pay the price later. So here comes tip number 3: hydrate regularly. Headaches, dizziness, muscle cramps, and poor decision making. These can all ruin your track and kill your motivation. All of these symptoms are a result of not drinking enough water. The high altitude dry air can dehydrate you faster than you realize. I made it a rule to drink something every hour, whether it was hot tea in the morning, sips of water on the trail, carry electrolyte packets to mix with your water. They are a lifesaver when you need a quick energy boost. Drinking regularly keeps you strong and lessens the chances of altitude sickness. Being surrounded by the pure beauty of nature, I was tempted to drink from those crystal clear glacier streams flowing down the Himalayas. But trust me, it's not worth the risk. No matter how clean it looks, stick to your filtered or bottled water to stay safe on the track. Brings us to our tip number 4: water purification tablets. Use water purification tablets on the track. They are lightweight, effective, and saves you from spending a fortune on bottled water. I had enough water, fortunately, as it was included in the package I bought. Next is tip number 5: be mindful of your flight baggage limit to Lukla. It's really strange how baggage is weighed at Lukla airport. even though there's a baggage limit, you might still manage to sneak in a few extra kilos. So don't stress if your baggage is a bit overweight. When flying to Lukla, you're limited 15 kilos of baggage, 10 kilos of your main luggage and 5 kilos for your carry-on. The baggage weighing process can be a bit haphazard as they often weigh all the bags of your group together rather than individually. This means it's not crucial if your bag is slightly over or under limit. So pack what you need without stressing too much about the weight. Just be sure to bring a little extra money in case you need to pay for an excessive baggage charge. Now comes tip number 6. Don't underestimate medication needs. Ever wondered what can ruin your track in an instant? When a sudden headache and stomach issues hit at high altitude, you need to have a right medication with you. This can turn the track into a struggle. I packed a bag of mini pharmacy and came in handy more than once. AMS meds, painkillers, antibiotics, cold medicine, having all of them gave me a peace of mind. Better to have them and not need them than to need them and not have them. If I haven't scared you off yet, hit that like and subscribe button. It helps me keep creating more free informative videos like this. Your support means the world to me. And now let's talk about tip number 7. Cover up to protect from sun and kumbu cuff. I thought sunscreen would be enough against the harsh sun at high altitude, but I quickly got burned. That's when I realized covering up was the real trick. The sun is relentless up there. I learned early on that sunscreen wasn't enough. It was better to cover up completely. I started wearing a sun hoodie, a cap with a wide brim, and a buff around my neck. It'll keep your face and neck warm while also preventing the infamous kumbu cuff as you breathe in the cold mountain air. This combo kept me cool and protected, and I did not have to worry about reapplying sunscreen every hour. Plus, it saved my skin from the harsh UV rays. Worried about finding food that suits your dietary need on the track? Can I eat non-vegetarian or do I only need to eat vegetarian? You can find meat in some tea houses. However, I suggest stick to the vegetarian meal option as the Everest region is a slaughter-free zone, meaning that meats you find in lodges are carried from Lukla by porters, which are stale and might cause stomach issues. If you have dietary intolerances and follow a restricted diet like gluten-free, vegan, low carb, you might worry about finding suitable food. But don't stress, Nepalese tea houses offer most variety than you expect. A vegetarian diet is highly recommended on this track due to how meat is transported. Vegetarian diet is a safer option and a tastier option. Most tea houses have similar menus with surprisingly varied options like dal bhat, that was my favorite, momos, potato dishes, pasta and noodles. Be aware that gluten-free pasta and bread aren't available, and noodles are usually egg-based. Meat is a luxury at those altitudes, but it's not always safe. I stuck to vegetarian meals and was grateful for it. Dal bhat, momos, potato-based meals were very healthy and satisfying. Going vegetarian reduces the risk of foodborne illness, and you'll find that local spices and flavors make the food both tasty and energizing. Have dietary requirements for snacks too? Lucky I don't have any issues. However, we did have few people who had dietary requirements. Bring snacks from home that meets your need. Even though they'll really count toward your weight limit to Lukla, it's worth it for a safe energy boost on the trail. Also, local snacks can be limited and pricey. So I packed my favorite energy bar, nuts and dry fruit from home. These became my go-to when I needed a quick pick-me-up. It's amazing how a familiar snack can lift your spirits when the trail gets tough. Plus, it's one less thing to worry about when you are already dealing with altitude and fatigue. Ever think a tiny mistake could derail your entire track? Blisters can ruin your track, and here's tip number 10. Use liner socks to prevent blisters. I didn't take any chances. Wearing a pair of thin liner socks under my hiking socks was a game changer. They wick away moisture and reduce friction, which means fewer blisters. I also carried leuco tape to wrap any hot spots on my feet before they turned into blisters. It's these small steps that make all the difference. Ever imagine running out of cash halfway through your track? It's hard to resist the chocolate bars and the hot showers along the way. And there's a tip number 11. I learned it easy to overspend on the trail, especially on comforts like chocolates or a hot shower. I exchanged plenty of rupees in Kathmandu and set a daily budget to keep my spending in check. This way I had enough money for those special treats that make this track memorable. I recently got this awesome travel card before an exciting trip to Bali in March 2024. If you want to watch a Bali series, I'll put the link in the playlist in the description below. Just a quick note, I'm not getting paid to promote this product. This is purely from my experience. The card I'm talking about is a TransferWise card. With TransferWise, you get real exchange rates, low fee, fast transfers you can hold over 50 currencies in one account. Plus, it's super easy to use. Now comes tip number 12. Hot showers on the Everest Base Camp track can cost between $4 and $7, but at high altitude, they often end up being just lukewarm. Once you're cold, it's hard to warm up no matter how good your gear is. So tip number 12, bring wet wipe, toilet paper, sanitizers, and all other toiletries for better hygiene. Most places on the trail have squat toilets, and you'll only find Western-style sitting toilets up to Namche Bazaar. Hot shower and modern toilets are not included in the room cost, so be prepared accordingly. Stay vigilant with hygiene in tea houses. You don't want to fall sick on this track. If that happens, say your track a goodbye because it's really hard to recover due to high altitude. So this brings us to our tip number 13. Tea houses are cozy, but they're also hotspots for germs, especially as you go higher. I made it a point to wash my hands regularly, use sanitizer, and avoid touching my face. I also try to spend less time in common areas during peak hours to minimize exposures. Staying healthy is a key to completing the track, and a little extra cautious goes a long way. Now comes tip number 14. Worried that you forgot an important item from your list? Relax. Kathmandu got you covered. Kathmandu is a gear heaven, and I was amazed at the variety available. From down jackets to tracking poles, you can find everything you need at a fraction of the cost. But remember, while some gear is a great for price, but it's important to buy and test crucial items like your boots, your backpacks before arriving. Comfort and reliability are non-negotiable on this trail. Ever had to endure a freezing office after getting soaked on your way to work? Now imagine that happening in the icy, unforgiving Himalayas. That's why tip number 15, pack a quality rain jacket. It's a game changer. Always be prepared for unexpected and pack a rain jacket. The weather in the mountains are absolutely unpredictable, and getting soaked can make you absolutely miserable. I carried a Wild Earth's woman jacket that doubled as a windbreaker, and it was worth every penny. Whether it was a sudden downpour or a gusty ridge, the jacket kept me dry and warm. One of my friends forgot to carry gaiters, and it made a noticeable difference. Emptying dust from his shoes frequently was a hassle. Investing in gaiters is worth it, especially on long days when you want to avoid constant interruptions. EBC track is muddy, dusty, and full of debris, and this brings us to tip number 16. Use of gaiters to keep the dust out. The main purpose is to keep debris out of your shoes while you're on the trail. You'll thank yourself for wearing a pair of gaiters, as they will keep your socks clean. The trail can get quite dusty, especially when other trackers kick up. Gaiters are small but essential piece of gear that can keep the dust out of your shoes, preventing blisters and keeping your feet absolutely clean. Layer your sleeping system for warmth. The Everest Base Camp track takes about 12 days with around 15 kilometers to cover every day, a distance that's manageable. You'll be walking 6 to 8 hours daily, leaving you exhausted by the end of the day. That's why tip number 17, layer your sleeping system with warmth, is so important. Your body needs sound sleep to recover. Even with the high quality sleeping bag, the nights can be bone chilling. I learned to layer by using a quilt from the tea house. This extra insulation made a world of difference on the frigid nights. A sleeping bag rated to at least -5 degrees Celsius is essential, but having the option to layer up adds an extra layer of comfort that you'll be glad for. Prevent blisters and sores from getting worse. Here's my tip 18. Bring comfortable shoes for the tea houses. After hours of tracking, the first thing you want to do is get out of your hiking boots. I brought a pair of lightweight, comfortable shoes to wear around the tea houses. Letting my feet breathe after a long day was pure bliss, and it helped prevent blisters and sores from getting worse. It's one of those little comforts that make the track more enjoyable. Tip number 19, pack earplugs for better sleep. You must be wondering, why do we need earplugs? Tea houses are charming, but they're also noisy. In walls, snoring neighbors, and creaking of wooden floors can make it hard to sleep. I never tracked without a pair of earplugs, and they saved my sanity more than once. A good night's sleep is crucial when you're tracking for days on end, and earplugs ensure that you get rest you need. Tip number 20, manage AMS with acclimatization. Altitude sickness is serious, and it's crucial to listen to your body. You can avoid AMS by taking acclimatization days if you have symptoms like headaches, dizziness. Tracking to a higher altitude the day and then sleeping at lower altitude works wonders for everyone. Always consult your guide before taking any medication. Respecting the altitude and preventing AMS through proper acclimatization is the best way to stay healthy. Now comes tip number 21. Understand helicopter evacuation procedures. It is something you hope never to need, but can happen, and it's vital to be prepared. I familiarized myself with travel insurance policy before heading to Nepal. ensuring it covered helicopter evacuations. I also learned the procedure from my guide, so I knew exactly what to do in the case of emergency. It's one of those precautions that you might never use, but it's essential for your peace of mind. Now comes tip number 22. Always give way to uphill trackers and watch for yaks and donkeys. Don't make that mistake. It can be lethal. I remember being pushed right into the edge of the walking path when suddenly the yak arrived. It was really wrong move I made, and it could have been disaster as I was opposite to the mountainside. Always give way to uphill trackers and watch for any incoming traffic. On the trail, always let trackers going uphill pass first. They are working hard, so stepping aside is a polite gesture. It also gives you a chance to catch your breath and enjoy the views. When yaks and donkeys cross the trail, move to the side of the mountain to avoid accidents. These animals often carry huge loads and need space to pass safely. Being aware of your surroundings and showing respect helps ensure a safe and smooth track for everyone. Charging is costly up there, so here's tip number 23. Use power banks to save on charging costs. I would recommend a minimum of 20,000 mAh. I use Signet, and it can charge an iPhone to full charge twice easily. Charging your device at tea house can be super expensive. I carried a high capacity power bank. This way I didn't have to worry about running out of battery for my camera or phone. Capturing those once in a lifetime views without interruption was well worth the investment in a good power bank. Tip number 24. Use tracking poles for stability, and don't forget a head torch. I didn't have a head torch. I was lucky my guide did. Tracking poles were invaluable on the trail. They provided stability, especially on the steep descents with loose gravel, and helped take the load off my knees and legs. If you're unsure about using them, trust me, they make the track more easier and more enjoyable. Also bring a head torch. The trail can get dark, and head torch will help you navigate safely during early morning starts or late evening walk. It's a small addition that makes a big difference. Mountain weather is super unpredictable. One minute you're sweating under the sun, the next you're shivering in the shade. So here's my tip number 25. Prepare for temperature fluctuation. I made sure to have versatile layering system, a moisture wicking base layer, an insulating mid layer, and a weatherproof outer layer. This way I was ready for anything Mother Nature had to throw at me. The key is to be able to add or remove layers quickly to stay comfortable during your track. This brings to a last tip, tip number 26. Enjoy the journey. It's easy to get caught up in reaching base camp, but don't forget to enjoy the entire track itself. Some of my favorite memories are from quiet moments along the trail, sitting on the rock, taking in the views, and feeling the pure, crisp mountain air fill my lungs. Remember, it's not about the destination, but the journey that makes this track truly unforgettable. Take your time, connect with fellow trackers, and let the beauty of Himalayas inspire you. Comment if you have any questions and want to share something important so it can help the other viewers watching this video. This was my last tip. Enjoy the journey and best of luck for your track.